This is the final chapter. This is a day after. I could have video recorded this earlier already. I did not. Here is what I have to say to you all about everything that you witnessed so far in respect to my memories pertaining to Georgy Zhukov and others. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to title this as a final chapter. Early Moscow with the British royals. We're going to name this here. That's how we're going to do that. Going to make a little like this. Okay, this is not bad. So get ready for the final take. The next day basically is what I have to say to you in respect to all this stuff. There is of course more. I could go for every presidential family member and break down issues on them. But I'm going to start with Georgy Zhukov. I'm going to make a few interesting facts and then I'm out of here. So everything that I told you in the video, I'm going to summarize in a following. And he passed away on June 18, 1974. Let's see how old I was when Georgy Zhukov passed away. I screw it up here. This is my birth. To me it's important because you know what I'm about to do right now. I'm about to demonstrate to you what other people could possibly not even dream about it. That's why this is important. So you also get to see whom they hospitalized. This goes to show, to demonstrate basically the world that we live in. I think it's scary as hell. This shit should scare every normal person. So we're talking about 2 years and 6 months. So I was 2 years and 6 months old, ladies and gentlemen. 2 years and 6 months. That makes it 30 months basically and 9 days. I like this number, 9 days. So you want to know how it was on a day when Zhukov was rushed to the hospital? On a day when Zhukov, Georgy Zhukov, this man here, was rushed into the hospital in year 1974 on a June 18, when I had just 30 months. It was end of the visit in Moscow. It was end of the visit in Moscow for us. Back then, this was a Yugoslavia. This is 2,200 kilometers if you would go walking. distance. And the distance, we should measure it between London and Moscow instead. That is actually even more, 2,850 kilometers. If you head from the London, see, almost the same distance as if you go from here. And the day in Moscow was very sunny, was sunny, sunshine weather. Here I'm gonna pop my picture a little bit so that you get to see that this is it, the real deal. The day when Georgy Zhukov supposedly died. That's what we are talking about here. The day was sunny, bright. Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, Prince Charles, I think all of them, including Edward, everybody. It was the last day with the Queen Elizabeth, with the Prince Philip in Moscow on that sunny June 18 of 1974, when I only had 30 months old to get there. It was the last day, stay in the Moscow. The last day. We were at the airport and the news came out about the Zhukov dying. We were rushing to the cars, and what this is, I'm not so sure. We might have not been already at the airport. This is what I have the problem. I don't know why, but we were rushed to his place where we already visited before, and obviously to the hospital where Georgy Zhukov was. It was the last day in Moscow, you understand? British royals would, together, they would take me to Moscow already before on many trips, wherever they would go. And the way this worked in Russia, in Moscow, with the Queen Elizabeth, with the Prince Philip, with Anne, with the Charles, the way this worked was that we would have a schedule of stops, and they would stop at people whom they deemed were important people. Therefore, this kind of business I was talking about, they obviously already had this going on before. But with me, this shit exploded because I was so pro-British, pro-American, pro-Spanish, pro-Italian, pro-French, pro-German. This entire shit that went on went into the fifth gear. Totally. The wheels simply fell off. It was like another person stepped from another planet in the reality. It like expedited, boosted, accelerated this whole thing into speed of light. It was the last day. On that day, I remember then we were in the airport. I actually thought that we already were at the airport. I think that we were at the airport, and I think that we rushed from the airport to the Zhukov. But it's also possible, because they were making other stops that day, that the news came. Andrew, I know, was there, and we were rushed to the hospital. So I dare you, British royals who witnessed this stuff, this is exactly the way it was. Now, there is a little bit of a difficulty with it. Zhukov did not die that day. So, it might not be exactly that day. And I know so because within just, it seemed to me like within just few days or so, supposedly it was Andrew, whoever, they returned on his own to Moscow, whatever it was, and then again they would come and then again they would pick me up. It was something like this, like a very, very short period. Not Andrew alone, but Charles and so on. Quinn again arrived to Moscow. So, with this being said, there's no way I can provide more information about. This is like extremely detailed piece of memory right there. I know even if the Queen was not that day, the way I described that stuff, and I'm pretty 100% certain that she was with the Philip, she then returned again to Moscow to say practically goodbye to Zhukov, wherever the hell this was. Zhukov, however, I do not believe he died. I don't believe that he passed away. They rushed us. It was several times that we would go to hospital, maybe twice more, and then they claimed that he passed away. He supposedly passed away, and in maybe just 2 months within this period. It happened pretty fast. When I think about June 18, June is usually a hot month already. And since it was so sunny at the airport, I have a feeling there was like more of a spring breeze there. It was not so hot. Then Moscow also gets hot. Just like everywhere else, the same thing. Just like you were in the US, whatever. Maybe even hotter in the summertime, I don't know. Hot. But maybe not so hot, really. A little bit less. But yeah, there's a difference also. I learned about going through the airports, different temperatures. And I liked the Moscow airport because it was more cool, more breeze, more fresh. In some of the airports, including in USA, obviously, when you go all the way down to fucking Miami, Tampa, Orlando, and so on, it was way hotter. So I didn't like Russia a fucking bit. But there was one thing about the Russia. At the airport, at least, it was not hot. And as a prisoner, as a tortured person, lynched person, you would be surprised how much you do appreciate that fact. Even that fact, especially when the torture is ongoingly involved in that kind of stuff. So this is the final take on that stuff. They did not hesitate. They did not wait. And torture in respect to possibly already deceased, passed away, Zhukov continued to go on as if he was still alive, as if nothing ever happened. But Queen Elizabeth was the one that reminded me. She kept reminding me if I remember Zhukov. So based on Queen Elizabeth account, I can maybe even agree that Zhukov might have passed away in 1974, let's say, because of Queen Elizabeth. And basically, It's also Queen Elizabeth, because of whom I cannot agree that Zhukov passed away in 1974. Because this is so screwed up. Because Queen Elizabeth did not get him out of her mind, and because Queen Elizabeth supposedly was the one who went on the funeral of him, the funeral where I suppose not even was present, and that funeral supposedly took place at the later time. It was done, basically her brainwash was done in such a way so that it would make me regret. And that was basically at much later time. So I am just giving you as much as a drugged up person possibly could give you based on a Russian brainwash. In my belief, in my personal opinion, I don't have the opinion. It's extremely difficult call to make, because Russians hated me, because Russians went into ballistic mode immediately. They did not hesitate with the memory that I had on Zhukov on this. They visited Zhukov before with me, but with the memory on Zhukov, they couldn't stand that I would have absolutely any memory about absolutely anything. And so they were just, it appeared to me like they were, Russian people like a people that the way I learned about them is like, this is yours, take it. In 3 minutes, he changed the fucking mind and go, give your fucking money back. This is what I recall from the Soviet, not from the Russian leaders, presidents that I had experience with. This was their attitude. Yeah. Some shit went on and stuff like this, and then it was like some kind of, as if schizophrenia would pop up out of their heads, and they changed their mind all of a sudden. So I went into the first grade of the grammar school when I was 6 years of age. This was 1977. '78 and 1977 and 1978, 1977, and it was something intensive shit that went on in respect to Zhukov that they started to do when I entered the first grade of the grammar school. Again, it was like if Slovenian teachers would learn about the Zhukov, my whereabouts in Moscow, and they just simply would not make peace with it, but they would start to do some kind of schizophrenia to drive you crazy about. Maybe that's what they were doing for me, not to forget about the Zhukov. But this shit went on all the way to my 8th grade of the grammar school, just as I explained in the video. And in the process of all this stuff, they had what appeared to be a Zhukov. This Zhukov, Georgy Zhukov, was always accompanied by the daughter. It's a fine man, accompanied with the daughter. I started to grow up. When I was in the first grade of the grammar school, I was already adult. Definitely, by every mental, I was totally indifferent from adult. I was a spy. Adults don't get to that crazy stage. And this was completely crazy, with the Russian presidents suggesting me, basically reading my mind about the stuff I did not even understood. Like, before I even understood the importance of having witnesses, they would suggest about the presence of the journalists and that they know what I think and stuff like this. This is the stuff that you learn basically once you go to the first grade, second grade of grammar school. And the same shit went on with American presidents. This fine man disappeared of the picture. If this was a Zhukov, if it's to believe that this was a Zhukov. Sometimes in my third grade of the grammar school, second grade of the grammar school, the year must have been then third grade in the grammar school, let's say 1981, 1980. So the possibility exists that he might have still existed. And then this shit pertaining to Zhukov would simply not stop. Then they got 3 drunks on the picture, of which one was way less drunk. That supposedly was even his comrade, war comrade, military comrade, veterans. And it was the stuff that I told you about in the video. Wanted me to bag them for that sword and that kind of stuff. Now, so that you know this is definitely me, this is the message to the Central Intelligence Agency, to the FBI. They're going to say that I'm fucking hallucinating, lying or something like that. We're going to touch the subject of the Khrushchev. We're going to touch the subject of the several Khrushchevs. Or let's touch it briefly of entire family. And like I said, I could have done this for everybody, for every Russian notable person who was involved in MK Ultra. Yeah, it took me 24 hours. Not even 24 hours, but alright, let's do a little bit of the Khrushchev here. So now we do understand each other, right? We do understand each other on British royals, that British royals traveled actively to Moscow, to the Russia already before I was in the picture. We do understand that part. It just became upgraded, probably I'm going to say even in a different sense. I don't want any kind of credits for their visits to Moscow and that kind of stuff, because visits to Moscow, the British royals absolutely existed. There's no point in making myself whatever. No. We're going to call it for what it was, exactly the way it was. So, their visits to Moscow were just something completely ordinary. Those are the non-official visits. It's non-official. You guys don't read about official. Khrushchev, Nikita. Well, Nikita Khrushchev, I am not going to change absolutely anything in respect to Nikita Khrushchev, but I will change in respect to Nikitich Khrushchev. This one here. The Nikitich Khrushchev was based on what I read in the media. And what also he repeated to me time and again. This one ended in the United States of America, as you see right there. But I suspect that Sergei Nikitich Khrushchev immigrated back to Moscow. Yes, let me explain about this stuff. This was an expert on missiles. He played with the weaponry, and his arrival to United States of America through my case was used. He told me that he had to give something to prove his stay in the United States of America. That's basically to the Russians that would arrive on unofficial visits to United States of America, also on unofficial. So whenever there would be a Putin in the picture or a Lavrov, Medvedev, this man would meet them in United States of America. In front of me, he would pass them American military secrets pertaining to ballistic missile, I assume, kind of technology. The year 2020, which is basically his death, as you see, what about the same date as of General Georgy Zhukov, was well planned ahead, beginning the 2012 he started to plan on his death, on his suicide, was twisted into a considerable amount of also torture. He would also have his relatives coming to visit him to United States of America from Russia. While not precisely directly involved in a torture, he definitely have witnessed one. Yeah, he also was directly psychologically involved in it. His relatives did not cut, I should say they did cut corners, they were directly into torture, so this was the stuff that went on. Came up with the idea to commit a suicide already before 2012. It was a long, his idea about committing a suicide go actually way back. Maybe even before he came to United States of America. I gotta see something here. I gotta clarify this stuff here. Oh, I would not want to come out as a complete idiot. So he immigrated in 91 to United States of America. He did not contemplate it. No, I would just hate to say that this suicide thoughts traced his commitment to committing a suicide, that it traced to like I don't know, man, 2008 or something like this, 2007, and it would pop up that he finally came to the United States of America in 2010 or 2012 or something like that. I would not want this shit to look like that. What this is exactly the specialty of these people. This is exactly what their job was to have you say something that could easily be disputed. But these people traveled the world without any fucking passports, to make myself clear about this stuff. Do you understand? You people do not understand what the high diplomacy looks like, but these people sit on a fucking plane and there is people waiting on them at the airport, might not even have to check themselves with customs, etc., etc. Might probably even board the plane, exit planes on a regular basis. They would exit planes before other passengers would exit and stuff like this. They would make stops and all kinds of shit like that with the Putin and so on. If it was a plane that was other people on it, it would be with the diplomats and stuff like this. They would exit completely separately. I would exit with them completely separately, totally in a different ways. So stuff like this was their job. So the suicide, the way that Nikitich explained to me, Sergei explained to me that the way he's going to commit the suicide is because he was very pro-American. And because he was pro-American, and because he was motivated in helping me out, he would file for the suicide. Departure, basically, disappearance. If you understand me what I'm trying to say. Yeah? That's simply because he was out there to help me out. Because he wanted to help me out, and because of the Russians, pertaining the issue to his family, a Russian side of the family, he would not want to get them in trouble. And of course, it appears to me, since he wanted to help me out, and after that, yes, maybe my death, he would not want the KGB to catch him. He wouldn't want the KGB to know that he's still alive, right? But the reality is, these people are certain I'm not going to be around no more. That's one of the things. And the second thing is, this person had no intention whatsoever to testify absolutely anything for me. Nothing. Zero, nada, zilch. This is the bottom line. This is the reality. He was not afraid of the Russians, etc., etc. There was another problem that rolled inside of his head. A possible departure, return back to the Russia, especially because of his son, a journalist who presented himself as a Ukrainian, repeatedly presented himself as a Ukrainian, and who also was involved in Mount Everest of torture, and also who filed for a fake death certificate. Died at age 47, supposedly. Children: Nikita Khrushchev, the Russian journalist who repeatedly presented himself as a Ukrainian to me, indicated how he was born in Ukraine, in Moscow, in a prison, in a total prison in Russia. I was left with no other belief than that I have one ally with me. That this one disappeared in 2007. Not dead, in my opinion, fake death certificate. And then it gets more interesting. Then you have Julia. So the CIA FBI is going to have to confirm that about the Sergei Nikitich Khrushchev. Sorry. Yulia Khrushcheva, yeah, he felt lonely, and for that reason, as he contemplated on return to the Moscow, and this shit goes, since his son is dead, and that's exactly what I was correct about when I said 2008, that's probably exactly what took place. Central Intelligence Agency Federal Bureau investigation is going to have to reveal also about this plot. Nikita Khrushchev's granddaughter is killed in Moscow. Wow, this is a beauty right here. No. I mean, when she died, she was 77. But this was one sexy lady. I remember her. You know, I remember her. The husband, she would not want any other than the one she had. Truly loyal to her husband, to her first husband. I tried to hook her up with another Russian guy. I did this best to my abilities, but I don't know what happened. I don't know who gave up. It was an engineer who was interested in her because of me, because I really wanted to hook her up. I didn't want her to be alone. This was a very nice lady, and it didn't work out. This, I tried to hook her up when this was sometimes in like 7th, 8th grade of the grammar school in 1985. I already know what it means to actually make a date. So, Nikita, what I will say to you about the Yulia Khrushcheva, what I can say to you about the Yulia Khrushcheva is that she lived in a house. She had a portion of the house, a room, that was dedicated to her. First, she lived in the room with a Khrushchev. This was like a daughter who lived with Nikita Khrushchev. You know? What the fuck am I talking about? Yeah, Nikita Khrushchev was the president. So, she had a room inside of that house. I live with these people practically inside. I remember the room that she had inside of the parents' house. And she was there also with others. And then I think that she had a different house, and she had like her own apartment in that house. And that house, I believe the rest of the house was from the relatives, which then it was in, she supposedly died in 2017, and that house where she was in, the title of the house was transferred to the children, to the relatives, sometimes in like 2010, I would say. Yeah, 2009, 2008, I can feel the friction. Something happened, 2008. And that relative who got that house was a female, a blondie, also from what I believe was a family Khrushchev. Now, the way this stuff looks like is that none of them had successfully any children, and all the children are gone, with none left on the picture. Simply horrible, horrible stuff. But this is not the reality. You see, this was a Yulia Khrushcheva. Let me also hear a little bit to see the siblings of not Nikita Khrushchev, but his father, Nikitich. The siblings, when it comes to the siblings, we're gonna go to the Rada Khrushcheva. This one here, which is interesting to note that both of the children passed away and none appeared to have children and that kind of stuff. This is not precisely the truth. This is not precisely the truth at all. This is not the truth. I remember every one of them like it was yesterday, no less than that. This one, for instance, clearly appeared to me that had children. Even Ajubi, Jubiduba, even Ajubi. The way the Khrushchevs did this stuff, I believe that he had two of them, is they had, he was in the house, next to the house in the neighborhood were other houses, it's where they would settle their own children. I believe that their own children would also use other than names Khrushchev. Yeah, cool. You don't get to see me, you get to see the screen. Very nice. Fine, thank you. I know so because there was a blondie that I was very interested in, and I think younger generation. I think that she was a Khrushcheva. She was one of the... I have no idea. Maybe this was his daughter or something like that. Neighbors, the so-called neighbors, were definitely interested in. And interesting stuff is that these neighbors, kids, like my age and younger, they keep coming back to us. It looked to me like I would be dealing with the children of these kids, of this people here. I didn't have the feeling that those are really neighbors. The reason for this stuff is that Nikita Khrushchev came to the conclusion that I'm very, very dangerous. The sister of Nikita Khrushchev, Sergei Nikitich Leonid Khrushchev, let me not F myself. I have to make sure about this stuff. Yulia Khrushcheva, Nikita Jubi. Let me see this here. We go back here. Okay. We're gonna go here. It was a beautiful sister. I was crazy about her. Nina Kukharchuk Khrushcheva. She had completely blue hair, blonde. Well, I mean, these people had a very, very light hair they had. And whatever the hell went on with me when I was a child, I liked that. Till shit exploded completely. Now, the shit exploded sometimes in 1979, 1980. With all my schoolmates, with these people visiting Novo Mesto city, school, see everything where I live, everything about me. With the schoolmates, wow, terrible stuff went on. Finally, with Khrushchevs completely turning their backs to me, that I was a racist, that I was a Nazi, and I don't know what the fuck I was. I was absolutely everything, for no schoolmate would want to see me anymore. And these people were simply terrified with me. And so, I see that she perished in 1984. Nikita Khrushchev absolutely did not die. This one supposedly died in 1984. This is the information I'm not going to dispute. I don't have in my head stored any information that I would continue to see her or whatever, but I remember her face. She had a very youthful face, but sometimes in 1981 maybe, because they like me, because I like them so much, she turned completely grim. She became Mrs. Grimm. She was like, it looked like she wanted to choke me, man. Yeah, I mean, it really looked like she wanted to kill me. We had this teacher, his name was Stančić. This is the man who was also inside of the concentration camp. And the stuff that this guy saw in me and what they started to see in me was just the kind of stuff that I changed my opinion about her and the whole bloody blonde culture and absolutely everything pertaining to Russia, because these were the people that were my last allies. And supposedly because of my case, that my case was so damn bad that I became a Mr. Holodomor of the Khrushchev family. So you can see them all dying like fleas, left and right, with what they suggested me in 2017 after supposedly, yeah, this one was I went through the school, through the university with this one. Yulia Bam, 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 bam. I remember Laura when he said to me, "Yeah, that is right. You don't like the Khrushchev. That's why no more for you." And they put in the news that she died. In reality, that relative, that blonde relative that I mentioned to you, on Opportunity in 2017, which started already in 2015 based on brainwash. She was already hit in 2015. In 2015 is when Lavrov gave me the news that Yulia Khrushcheva was hit by the train. And they did this stuff so that I could read in the media, in the news. They threw me in the psychiatric hospital again in 2015, you know. So then you come back home, then you get to read the news from your friends, from Putin and from Lavrov and Medvedev again, about how Yulia Khrushcheva was hit with a train in the Moscow finally. Like 2 years down the road, they brainwash you about her death in advance. That's how fake this family is. This is the most... I don't have the words for it. Now you get the taste, the Russia. Now I have to know the Russia, the real Russia, how is in the Russia. You tell me if he's die or he's not die. This is a fucky business. To me it does make no fucking sense like that. It's very difficult already to be drugged up, subjected to MKUltra, and then you are subjected to some kind of bullshit basically. What is this if not waste of time? It was the blonde relative that I told you about her, who figured out that it would be better for her to go to elder care, into the home for elderly. Although Yulia Khrushcheva was still very dynamic, I didn't see any kind of signs of slowing it down or whatever. But this is exactly what took place. So we have another fake death certificate. It's like I could go on and on and on about this stuff, and I'm not going to be doing this. What is it here? Let me see this here, Nikita. With this one here, let me see this here, Elena Khrushcheva. Elena Khrushcheva, this was a big fucking deal. Elena Khrushcheva. Elena Khrushcheva was like mega fucking deal. About Elena Khrushcheva, I can tell you that Elena Khrushcheva on this family portrait of the Khrushchev, is you can see her with a daughter. You can still see her on a family portrait. Good looking lady, black haired, good looking lady. However, the lady they presented me during MKUltra, oh man, is this shit fucking sick shit, man. This is Russia. That's why about the Russia, there is nothing to talk about the Russia. Russia is sick country, extremely sick country. This is the sicker than sick. This is sicker than sick shit. This I would not even dare to tell, but right there, maybe in the middle, that would be maybe Elena, who passed away practically when I was maybe not even born, right? Let me just see. Let me just make sure about Elena. Yulia Khrushcheva, daughter of Nina Khrushcheva, 1963, she was still around, yes. She perished away in 1970, something like this, just before I was born, in that sense, something like that. So, but this stuff is so fucked up. So, I think that, yeah, that's a Nina and Nikita even, and grandchildren Nikita. show more. Let's go. Elena Khrushcheva. Where the hell is she? So I think that she's right there in the middle. Yeah, the models that they have used, they just look like that. And they were sexy, good-looking Russian ladies that were teasing me. Wouldn't be fucked up, man, if I would say that she was involved and so on and so forth. I mean, you know, when I think about this Ruski, you know, when I think about the Sergei Lavrov, you know, when I think about the Medvedev and all that stuff, when I think about all these guys, I kind of feel that this is like you know what the cheap is? Cheap? I mean, there is not much to say about that stuff. But this is the type of stuff they wanted me to come out and say, yes, Elena was involved in this and that. They use imitators, but based on the age, she was 35 at the time when Elena Khrushcheva passed away. Under no circumstances would it have been possible that, you know, that the lady that would be so attractive that this would be, you know, that this would be the daughter of the Khrushchev. You know, but then again, the age when pertained to MK Ultra and stuff like that, you start to notice really one, like sometimes on a person. It depends how much trauma is done on you. You start to notice that kind of stuff sometimes after age 50, which is normally on the people. It's kind of difficult to tell. So if she was involved in it, this was an attractive lady. There was one lady who was involved in it that also had glasses and stuff like this, and who also could be Elena Khrushcheva, who at the same time she acted like a complete nut, like a nutcase, like a total nutcase. And so there might be actually a possibility that Elena Khrushcheva also had a fake death certificate and continued to live, unless there was a psychopath they involved in it that would just, I don't know, that lady with that black hair for whom Khrushchev claimed that was his daughter and stuff, that this was a family, it appeared to me that she wanted to fucking kill me. Seriously choke me. Because she had a black hair, I guess that I did not like her, maybe something like that. But then they had the black hair Elena Khrushcheva that was younger and that was very sexy, that I actually flirted with her. And there is a high probability that they used her to prove that I was not a racist. So basically they depicted that it was just a matter of the physique. It was not as attractive as other Khrushchevs were attractive. Unfortunately that she had a black hair, in that sense, this is how they... The Elena Khrushcheva was fucking skinny and with the glasses and with basically like somebody that would just want to jump in my face basically and take the eyes out. This is like the best description that I can give. I personally think, and Russians, and actually others who met her are going to have to disclose about that she was a schizophrenic. She had a personality of eccentric personality that would simply therefore what was likely, if there was a real Elena Khrushcheva, a personality that would border, I would say, schizophrenia. Heavy problem with the anger management. All the Khrushchevs had problem with older generation. Not kids. Not kids. Not at all. Children not. Exactly the opposite of the parents. All the older generations of Russians had this problem with impulsivity. And I think that she was carried away too far. The real Elena Khrushcheva, with a fake death certificate, therefore, did appear, and in a second, and in a third grade at the grammar school, and one of the picture just about at the time is her grandmother, the one that the grandmother, the sister of Nikita, who also disappeared off the picture in 1984. 84, the chances are that she did live longer. Although people were dying earlier, these people had a high quality standard life expectancy and so on. So, I think because of her schizophrenic personality that Elena had to be removed of the picture of the Khrushchev. Likely because of me. I was a psychiatrist when I was a baby, when I was a child. Listen, I was a person that literally a presidents feared. Royals feared me when I was a child. I told you about how all I wanted to do is wear the uniforms, and I had a taste for the watches, for the women. If I chose a woman, whatever it was, nobody ever complained. Nobody ever complained. Those that married and stuff like this, they stayed married for the rest of their life and beyond. I was a kid baby, that presidents listened. Those that were, that people were extremely afraid of them, like Josip Broz Tito and General Franco and etc., etc. There was a manipulation in it, using me for the stuff, but I had a really good taste somehow. What else did I miss here on this stuff here? Maybe this one here, adopted. That's an adopted daughter is killed by the train. That one is on the left. And then you have maybe the first Khrushchev that maybe really sided with me to the degree that was willing to testify. And I come to conclusion about that stuff simply because Nina Khrushcheva, Kuharcha Khrushcheva, Nina Khrushcheva, professor, she's still in New York, and this is the girl with whom I have gone through entire university, etc., etc. The situation for which I'm going to honestly say to you that she was supposedly interested in marrying me is not even bad-looking lady. Under different circumstances, who knows how this would end. She is, however, 7 years senior to me, 7 years older than me. I feel really bad that I did not marry her. I could actually, when she graduated her university, she's 7 years older than me, but she graduated in 1987, but then she continued to study and stuff like this, and I was already in the United States in 1995, and I don't know, man, it was so many women and everything, and this is something about her that I wanted her to get married to somebody, and the thing is that she couldn't. I have no idea what happened. she suggested that she still had a feelings for me. So this one is a little bit hard. She did travel back to Russia with me, and she was a little bit tough lady, but there was under no circumstances that could be any other way. So probably the only Khrushchev that I would say that was really on my side here probably was Nina Khrushcheva. Maybe all the Khrushchevs were on my side. After all, these people started to change their last names. The relatives, the children, they would never be seen on the picture, man. And when you do the stuff like this, that definitely really is something that you're running away from. So it could be that they became, within the Russian society, maybe they really came under the loop or something like that. I really do not know about that stuff. So I think I did excellent job on this. She wanted me to mention her. She, however, was not happy with war on Ukraine and that kind of stuff, which is the stuff that you can also read in the media, is also the stuff that she is discussing. So there isn't anything else I missed in this video. I could go after the Zhukov's and so on. I'm not going after Zhukov's. I have to go through the stuff again. I did some. And look faces and go over and this and that. This shit I could do for many, many years. And it would go for many, many more years. So yes, I hope I clarified the memories on a Zhukov. Yeah, I was there. Undisputedly, I was there. I saw it. I was part of it. Absolutely part of it. Americans remember me who were inside of the Moscow. Probably the two people that American ambassador he did like to drink, that is true. So my bet when it comes to Zhukov is he might have lived until second, third grade of the grammar school. Third grade of the grammar school, 1981. 1981. And he had a daughter who assisted him all the time, who was with him. I'm not going to say anything else in respect to that stuff. I assume that he did came out of the hospital. He somehow did still live. Maybe he was under too much public scrutiny, which places extra pressure on the person, because you cannot decline invitations of the people. This is why elderly people do this fake death certificates. So they escape from the public, so that little whatever they have still left, they can dedicate to their lives. They told me, you will be like that too, because it's impossible, and people resent you and so on. Marvin Kolb, who was in Moscow and who met me, and then there was another Marvin Kolb who was in New York or whatever, in the U.S., who would also meet me and so on. Yeah, he saw me in Moscow, and this is the testimony. The most that he remembered in his lifetime career, according to him, was myself, I, and the meeting with the Zhukov. I remember him in Moscow as a young man. What can I say? That's all I gotta say. I ain't got nothing else to say. I was in the center of all this stuff. The stuff that British oils have done, this is bizarre. They have really, really gone far too far. This is actually truly, truly insane. And I think it defines truly their relationship to the Britain, to the British people as a nation. Foremost, to the British veterans, to the British patriots, to the British patriotism. For me, it would be extremely difficult to serve to the country under this type of circumstances if I would hear from somebody like myself that this have taken place, have happened to. This is fucking crazy. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching this video, and this is summarizing a serious MK Ultra procedure report on Moscow, on the Russia. I don't like to do, you can understand me, you can feel me, that it's difficult to do, and you know, with that being said, thanks for watching this video. Let me wave you goodbye. Till the next time.